The sky above Seoul turned dark at noon. It was not clouds. It was not an eclipse. It was something far worse. General Kim Tae stood at the window of his office on the 32nd floor. He was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face full of deep lines. He had fought in 3 wars. He had seen death many times, but he had never seen anything like the shapes that now blocked out the sun. Thousands of them. Alien ships. They hung in the sky like black mountains, stretching from horizon to horizon. They did not move. They did not attack. They simply waited. Every screen in the world flickered. Every phone, every television, every computer showed the same image. An alien face appeared. It was gray and smooth with large black eyes that held no warmth. When it spoke, the words came in every human language at once. People of Earth, I am Admiral Thesa of the Velthari Dominion. The Galactic Council has decided your fate. Your species is too violent, too dangerous. You must surrender now. All your weapons must be destroyed. All your governments must step down. You will become a protected species under Dominion control. You have 72 hours. If you refuse, we will end your civilization. This is not a threat. This is simply what will happen. The screen went black. General Tae did not move for a long time. He watched the alien ships in the sky. He counted them. 1,000. 2,000. More than 4,000 warships formed a ring around Earth. Each one was bigger than any ship humans had ever built. His phone rang. It was the president. General Tae, the president said. His voice was shaking. What do we do? Tae was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke in a calm voice. We do not surrender, but they will kill us all. Perhaps, Tae said, but I would rather die standing than live on my knees. Call a meeting. Every military leader in the world. We have work to do. 3 hours later, Tae stood in a bunker deep beneath the mountains outside Seoul. Around a long table sat generals and admirals from every nation. Americans, Russians, Chinese, Europeans, Africans, and more. They had been enemies for centuries. Today, none of that mattered. A young woman walked into the room. She was Park Hana, the director of Korea's Aerospace Defense Command. She was only 34 years old, but her mind was sharper than anyone Tae had ever met. She carried a tablet computer, and her face was serious. I have been studying their formation, Hana said. She pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed Earth surrounded by the alien fleet. They are confident. Too confident. Look at their ships. They stay in perfect lines. They do not move. They do not adjust. They expect us to surrender without a fight. Can we fight them? Asked an American general. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Yes, it is, Hannah said. But technology is not everything. I have found weaknesses. Their shields are strong, but they use a specific energy frequency. If we can match that frequency, we can break through. Their ships are large and powerful, but they are also slow. Our fighters are small and fast. And most important of all, they do not expect us to resist. General Tae nodded slowly. What do you need? Hannah looked at him. I need access to Aegis. The room went silent. The generals looked at each other with wide eyes. Aegis was humanity's greatest secret. For 40 years, after detecting alien signals in deep space, Earth's governments had worked together in secret. They built weapons. They trained pilots. They prepared for this day. Very few people knew about Aegis. Most thought it was a myth. Tae stood up. Follow me, he said. All of you? They flew in helicopters to an island in the Pacific Ocean. The island looked empty, just rocks and trees. But when Tae placed his hand on a hidden scanner, The ground opened up. Below was a facility that stretched for miles. A man was waiting for them inside. His name was Dr. Yun Su. He was a physicist, 50 years old, with tired eyes and messy hair. He had spent his entire adult life working on Aegis. "Welcome," Su said quietly. "Let me show you what we have built." They walked through massive underground halls. They saw pulse cannons that could break alien shields. They saw drones that could fly in swarms of millions. They saw missiles that could track enemy ships across the solar system. And finally, they saw the spear fighters. The spears were beautiful and deadly. They were small, only big enough for one pilot. They were fast, faster than anything the aliens had. And they were armed with weapons that could hurt even the largest enemy ships. "We have 12,000 spears," Su said, "and 12,000 pilots trained to fly them." "What is the catch?" asked a Russian general. Su's face became sad. "The spears are fast because they carry almost no fuel. They are one-way ships. Any pilot who flies a spear will not come back." The room was silent. 12,000 pilots. 12,000 people who would fly to their deaths. General Tay closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his voice was steady. "Then we need volunteers. People who understand what they are giving up. And we need a plan." Hannah stepped forward. "I have been listening to their communications. The alien fleet is controlled by a single AI on the flagship. That ship sits in the center of the formation, protected by 300 other ships. If we can destroy the flagship, the entire fleet will lose coordination. They will become confused and scared." "How do we reach the flagship?" Tay asked. "We create a corridor," Hannah said. "Our spears punch a hole through the enemy formation. Our drones and pulse cannons cover them. One pilot, just one, must reach the flagship and destroy it." Tay looked at the faces around him. He saw fear. He saw doubt. But he also saw something else. He saw determination. These were humans. They did not give up easily. 72 hours, Tay said. "We have 72 hours to save our world. Let us begin." That night, the call went out to every spear pilot on Earth. The message was simple. Humanity needs you. This mission has no return. Only volunteers will fly. Within 6 hours, all 12,000 pilots had answered. Every single one. Among them was a young captain named Li Wu. He was 29, years old, with a calm face and steady hands. When he read the message, he did not hesitate. He called his mother in Bizen and told her he loved her. Then he put on his flight suit and walked toward his spear. The final wave was ready. Captain Li Wu stood in the hangar and looked at his spear fighter. It was silver and sleek, no bigger than a small car. The cockpit was tight, built for one person only. There was a seat, controls, and a small screen. Nothing else. No room for food. No room for water. No room for return fuel. He touched the cold metal of the ship. In 48 hours, this machine would carry him to his death. A voice came from behind him. "Are you scared?" Wu turned. A young woman stood there in a pilot's uniform. Her name tag said Shin Yuna. She was a lieutenant, maybe 26 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes. "No," Wu said. "Are you?" Yuna thought about it. "A little, but mostly I am angry. These aliens come to our home. They tell us to kneel. They think we are weak." She shook her head. "I want to show them how wrong they are." Wu smiled slightly. "That is why we are here." All around them, pilots checked their ships. The hangar was busy with activity. Mechanics ran final tests. Engineers loaded weapons. Everyone worked fast because time was running out. General Kim Tae walked through the hangar. He stopped and spoke to each pilot. He shook their hands. He looked into their eyes. He thanked them for their courage. When he reached Wu and Yuna, he stood quietly for a moment. "You know what I am asking you to do," Tay said. "We know," Wu replied. "You do not have to fly. No one will think less of you if you stay." Wu looked at the old general. "With respect, sir, yes, they would. And more importantly, I would think less of myself. Some things are worth dying for. Our families, our home, our freedom. If I do not fly, who will?" Tay put his hand on Wu's shoulder. "Your parents must be proud of you." "My father died when I was young," Wu said. "But my mother is in Bizen. She does not know what I am about to do. I hope she will understand." In another part of the facility, Park Hana worked without sleep. She had been awake for 30 hours, but she could not stop. Every minute mattered. She studied the alien transmissions. She mapped the enemy formation. She found every weakness she could. Dr. Yoon Soo brought her coffee. His hands were shaking from exhaustion. "You need to rest," he said. "I will rest when this is over," Hana replied. She pointed at her screen. "Look at this. The alien flagship has a weak point. Their shields are strongest at the front and sides. But at the back, near the engines, there is a small gap, just big enough for a spear to fly through. Can our pilots hit that gap?" "One pilot can. Captain Lee Wu. He is the best we have. I checked his records. He has perfect scores in every test. Perfect accuracy. Perfect timing. If anyone can make this shot, it is him." Sue looked worried. "And the nuclear payload? Will it be strong enough?" Hana nodded. "We modified one of our largest warheads. If it explodes inside the flagship, nothing will survive. The blast will destroy their command AI and kill their admiral. The fleet will lose all coordination. And Captain Lee?" Hana was quiet for a long moment. "He will not survive the blast. He knows this. He accepted the mission anyway." Across the world, similar scenes played out. In America, pilots said goodbye to their children. In Europe, young men and women wrote final letters to their loved ones. In Africa, volunteers prayed together before walking to their ships. In Asia, mothers cried as their sons and daughters put on flight suits. 12,000 people. From every country, every culture, every background. They had never met each other. They spoke different languages. They believed in different gods. But today, they were one family. The final wave. Back in Korea, a young corporal named Bae Jin sat alone in a quiet room. He was only 20 years old, the youngest pilot in the program. His hands were shaking as he wrote a letter to his grandmother. "Dear grandmother," he wrote, "by the time you read this, I will be gone. Please do not cry for me. I am not afraid. When I was a child, you told me that a good person protects others, even when it is hard, even when it hurts. That is what I am doing now. I am protecting you. I am protecting everyone. I hope you are proud of me. I love you very much. Your grandson, Jin." He folded the letter and placed it on his bed. Then he walked to the hangar. General Tay called a final meeting. All the military leaders gathered in the command center. Hana presented the battle plan one last time. "Our pulse cannons will fire first," she explained. "They will open holes in the enemy shields. Then our drone swarms will attack. They will distract the enemy and draw their fire. While this happens, our spear pilots will launch. They will fly in 3 waves. The first wave will break through the outer ring of enemy ships. The second wave will clear a path toward the center. The third wave, led by Captain Lee Wu, will reach the flagship. What are our chances?" asked a Chinese general. Hannah paused. Low, very low. Most of our pilots will die. But if even one pilot reaches the flagship, we win. And I believe Captain Li Wu will reach it. Tay stood up. I will not lie to you. Tomorrow, many of us will die. Our pilots know this. They fly anyway, because some things matter more than survival. Freedom matters. Dignity matters. Showing the galaxy that humanity does not kneel matters. He looked at each face in the room. For thousands of years, we have fought each other. We have been enemies. But today, we are brothers and sisters. Today, we fight together. And win or lose, the galaxy will never forget what we did here. The meeting ended. The generals returned to their posts. The final preparations began. That night, Li Wu could not sleep. He walked outside and looked at the sky. The alien ships were still there, blocking the stars. He thought about his mother. He thought about his sister and her 2 children. He thought about all the people on Earth who are counting on him. A voice came from the darkness. Beautiful night. If you ignore the alien invasion. It was Yuna. She walked up and stood beside him. Could not sleep either? Wu asked. No. Too many thoughts. She looked at the sky. Do you think we can really win? Wu was quiet for a moment. I think we have to try. And I think trying matters, even if we fail. Because if we surrender, we lose everything. But if we fight, we show the universe who we are. We show them that humans do not give up. We show them that we would rather die free than live as slaves. Yuna nodded slowly. Then let us give them a fight they will never forget. 12 hours remained until the attack. The final wave was ready to fly. Far beyond Earth, at the edge of the solar system, a space station floated in the darkness. This was the observation post of the Galactic Council. 12 alien species had sent representatives to watch the subjugation of humanity. Ambassador Corvan of the Milwaukee Federation stood at a large window. He was tall and thin, with blue skin and forearms. Unlike the others, he did not look pleased. He looked worried. For 30 years, Corvan had studied humanity. He had watched their television broadcasts. He had read their history books. He had learned their languages and their customs. He understood them better than any other alien in the galaxy, and that understanding filled him with fear. You seem troubled, Ambassador, said a voice behind him. Corvan turned. It was Delegate Morven of the Thessi Collective, a short creature covered in gray scales. He was smiling with too many teeth. I am troubled, Corvan admitted. This operation is a mistake. Morven laughed. A mistake? The Velthari have 4,000 ships. These humans have nothing but primitive weapons and bad attitudes. In 72 hours, they will surrender like all the others. You do not understand them, Corvan said quietly. I have studied their history. They are not like us. They are not like any species we have ever encountered. Do you know what they do when faced with certain death? They surrender, like everyone else. No, Corvan shook his head. They fight harder. Their history is full of examples. Small groups of humans fighting against impossible odds, losing battles that become symbols of their strength. They have a phrase for it. They call it going down fighting. They would rather die standing than live on their knees. Morven waved a dismissive hand. Pretty words. They will learn. Pain is an excellent teacher. Corvan said nothing more, but he continued to watch the blue planet in the distance. On Earth, the deadline was almost over. 1 hour remained. In the command center beneath Korea, General Kim Tae sat in his chair. His face was calm, but his heart was beating fast. Around him, hundreds of officers worked at their screens. They tracked the alien fleet. They monitored the Aegis weapons. They waited for his order. Park. Hannah stood beside him. All systems are ready, she said. Pulse cannons are charged. Drone swarms are in position. Spear fighters are standing by. Tay nodded. And Captain Lee Wu? In his cockpit, ready to launch. Tay looked at the main screen. It showed Earth surrounded by enemy ships. 4,000 vessels. 4,000 chances to fail. But they only needed one success. Admiral Fisa is broadcasting, an officer reported. The alien admiral appeared on screen. Her gray face was cold and arrogant. People of Earth, your time is over. You have chosen extinction. In 1 hour, we will begin our attack. Every city will burn. Every human will die. You had your chance. You wasted it. The transmission ended. Tay stood up. He walked to the microphone that connected him to all human forces around the world. His voice was steady when he spoke. This is General Kim Tae. In a few minutes, we will fight the greatest battle in human history. Many of us will not survive, but our children will. Our grandchildren will. They will remember this day. They will remember that when aliens came to enslave us, we did not surrender. We did not beg. We fought. He paused. Today, we show the galaxy what it means to be human. All units prepare to engage. Across the planet, soldiers took their positions. Pulse cannon operators gripped their controls. Drone pilots activated their swarms. And in hangars around the world, 12,000 spear fighters powered up their engines. In his cockpit, Li Wu heard the order. He closed his eyes for a moment and thought of home. Then he opened them and placed his hands on the controls. Final wave, he said quietly. Let us begin. The pulse cannons fired first. Massive beams of energy shot up from Earth and struck the alien shields. The beams were designed to match the shield frequency. They worked. Holes appeared in the protective barriers around the enemy ships. The aliens were surprised. They had not expected any resistance. For a few precious seconds, they did nothing. That was enough time. The drone swarms launched. Millions of tiny machines poured into space. They were not powerful enough to destroy enemy ships, but they were fast and numerous. They swarmed around the alien vessels, blocking sensors, confusing targeting systems, and creating chaos. And then the spears launched. 12,000 small fighters burst from hidden bases around the world. They shot up through the atmosphere like silver arrows. They were so fast that the alien weapons could not track them. The first wave hit the outer ring of enemy ships. The spears were armed with special missiles that could penetrate weakened shields. Explosions bloomed in space as human weapons found their targets. Admiral Thissa watched in shock from her flagship. This was impossible. These primitives were supposed to surrender. They were supposed to be weak. But instead, they were fighting like demons. All ships opened fire. She commanded. The alien fleet finally responded. Thousands of weapons targeted the human fighters. The spears were fast, but there were too many enemy guns. One by one, they began to fall. But they did not stop. They did not retreat. Every time a pilot died, another took their place in the attack formation. At the Galactic Council station, the observers watched in stunned silence. What are they doing? Morven whispered. This is suicide. Yes, Corvan said. His voice was heavy. It is. And they are doing it anyway. Now do you understand? On the main screen, a human pilot flew directly into an alien ship. The explosion destroyed both vessels. Another pilot did the same. And another. They are mad, Morven said. Completely mad. No, Corvan replied. They are human. And we have just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. Back on Earth, Hana watched the battle with tears in her eyes. So many deaths. So many brave people gone. But the plan was working. The corridor to the flagship was opening. "Captain Lee," she said into her radio, "the path is almost clear. Prepare to advance." In his cockpit, Wu watched his friends die. He saw their ships explode around him. He heard their final words on the radio. Some screamed. Some cried. Some said nothing at all, but they kept fighting. They kept pushing forward. They were creating a road through fire and death, and that road had led to one place, the flagship. "I am ready," Wu said. His voice was calm. His hands were steady. The final wave moves forward. And with the galaxy watching, humanity struck back. The battle had been raging for 6 hours. Space around Earth was filled with fire and death. Broken ships floated everywhere, both human and alien. Explosions lit up the darkness every few seconds. The radio was full of screams and last words and prayers. Lieutenant Shin Yuna flew through the chaos. Her spear fighter was damaged. Piece of her wing was missing. Her cockpit was leaking air slowly, and she had wrapped tape around the crack to slow it down. Half her squadron was dead, but she was still flying. "Korean squadron, report," she said into her radio. Only 4 voices answered. 4 pilots out of 20. The rest were gone. "Form up on me," Yuna ordered. "We need to keep the corridor open." Captain Lee Wu is almost at the flagship. She looked at her screen. Through the madness of battle, she could see Wu's spear moving steadily forward. He was close now. So close, but so many enemies stood in his way. 200 alien ships still blocked the path to the flagship. They had formed a defensive wall around their command vessel. Every gun was pointed at the corridor. Every weapon was ready to fire. The human attack had destroyed more than 1,000 enemy ships. But it had cost them dearly. Of the 12,000 spear fighters that launched, fewer than 3,000 remained. And those 3,000 were tired, damaged, and running out of ammunition. General Tay watched from the command center. His face was pale. His hands gripped the edge of his chair. He had sent these people to die. Every death was his responsibility. "How many have we lost?" he asked quietly. Hana checked her screen. Her voice was barely a whisper. 9,247. And counting. Tay closed his eyes. 9,000 brave souls. Gone. And the battle was not over yet. "Captain Lee Wu, report," he said into the radio, Wu's voice came through, calm as always. "I am approaching the inner defense ring. Many enemy ships ahead. I will need support to break through." "You will have it," Tay said. He turned to his officers. "All remaining forces, focus on clearing a path to the flagship. Everything we have left. Give it everything." The final push began. Across the battle zone, human pilots heard the order. They knew what it meant. Many of them would not survive the next few minutes. But they flew forward anyway. Yuna led her 4 remaining pilots toward the inner ring. "Stay together," she said. "Cover each other. We need to take down as many of those ships as possible before they get us." They dove into the enemy formation. Alien weapons fired from every direction. One of Yuna's pilots was hit immediately. His ship exploded without warning. Then another fell. And another. Yuna flew alone now. The last of her squadron. But she kept fighting. She fired her final missile at an alien destroyer. It struck the engine, and the ship broke apart. Then her weapons were empty. She had nothing left, but she had one thing she could still do. "Captain Lee," she said into her radio, "I'm going to clear a path for you." It has been an honor. Before anyone could respond, she accelerated her damaged spear directly at an alien ship that blocked the corridor. The impact was tremendous. Both ships vanished in a ball of fire. Wu watched her die on his screen. He did not have time to mourn. He flew through the gap she had created. Corporal Bei Jin was still alive. His spear was in bad shape. Warning lights flashed everywhere. His shield was gone. His weapons were almost empty. But when he saw an alien destroyer moving to close the gap ahead of Captain Lei, he knew what he had to do. "For our children," he whispered. He remembered his grandmother. He remembered her smile. He remembered sitting in her kitchen as a small boy, eating rice cakes and listening to her stories. He hoped she would understand. Jin flew his spear directly into the destroyer's bridge. The explosion was bright and beautiful. The destroyer went dark and began to drift. In the command center, an officer reported the death. Corporal Bei Jin, Korean Air Force, age 20. Tae said nothing. There were no words left, but the corridor was open now. Captain Lee Wu had a clear path to the flagship. The alien command ship was enormous. It was 5 kilometers long, covered in weapons and armor and blinking lights. It looked like a mountain floating in space. At its center was the bridge, where Admiral Fissa commanded the entire fleet, and behind the bridge was the central AI core. The brain of the invasion. Wu flew toward it. His spear was small compared to the massive ship. He felt like an insect approaching a giant. But insects could sting, and his sting would be deadly. "Captain Lei, this is General Tae. You are in range. Begin your attack run." "Understood." Wu checked his weapons. He had 1 nuclear warhead. 1 chance. Approaching target now. The flagship's weapons turned toward him. Hundreds of guns targeted his tiny ship. They began to fire. Wu flew like he had never flown before. He twisted and turned. He dove and rolled. Alien fire came from everywhere, but he avoided it all. His reflexes were perfect. His timing was exact. He thought about everyone who had died to get him here. Yuna, Jin, thousands of others whose names he did not know. They had given their lives for this moment. He would not waste their sacrifice. The weak point in the flagship's shields was ahead. A small gap near the engines, just like Hannah had said. It was barely big enough for a spear to pass through. Wu aimed for it. "Hannah," he said into his radio, "tell my mother I love her." Wu wait, but he was already through. The gap in the shields closed behind him. He was inside the enemy ship now, flying through narrow corridors of metal and light. Alien crew members ran in panic as his spear shot past them. The AI core was ahead, a massive sphere of energy and metal, glowing with power. It was the heart of the alien fleet. Every ship in the armada was connected to it. Every decision came from here. Wu armed the nuclear warhead. He thought about his mother in Bizan. He thought about his sister's children playing in the garden. He thought about the green hills of Korea and the blue ocean and the cherry blossoms in spring. He opened a broadcast channel so everyone could hear him, humans and aliens alike. "This is Captain Lee Wu of Earth. Humanity does not kneel." He flew directly into the AI core and pressed the button. The explosion was visible from Earth. The flagship exploded in a flash of white light that burned brighter than the sun. The blast waves spread outward, destroying enemy ships that were too close. Metal and fire scattered across space like deadly rain. And then something amazing happened. The alien fleet stopped. Every Veltri ship went dark for a moment. Their weapons stopped firing. Their engines stopped working. They drifted in space like dead things. In the command center on Earth, everyone stared at their screens in shocked silence. "What is happening?" Tae asked. Hannah checked her instruments. Her hands were shaking. "The AI core is destroyed. Their entire fleet was connected to it. Without the core, they cannot coordinate. They cannot communicate. They are blind and confused. Hope appeared on faces that had known only fear for hours. "Then this is our chance," Tay said. He grabbed the radio. "All remaining human forces, attack. Attack now. Do not let them recover." The 3,000 surviving spear fighters, battered and broken, charged at the confused enemy fleet. The pulse cannons fired again. The drone swarms attacked from every direction. And the Velthari, for the first time in their history, knew fear. Admiral Thessa was not dead. She had been on a secondary command vessel, not the flagship. But she watched in horror as her fleet fell apart around her. Ships crashed into each other. Weapons fired at random. Crews panicked without orders from the AI. "Retreat," she finally said. Her voice was small and hollow. "All ships retreat." It took hours for the order to spread without the central AI. But slowly, the alien ships began to turn away. Their engines lit up, and they started moving out of Earth's orbit. Of the 4,000 ships that had come to enslave humanity, fewer than 800 escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. The battle was over. On Earth, people did not know what to feel. They stood in the streets and looked at the sky. They saw the alien ships leaving. They saw the fires of battle fading. They realized they had survived, and then they began to cry, tears of relief, tears of joy, tears of grief. Every emotion mixed together. They had won, but the cost had been terrible. Of the 12,000 pilots who flew in the final wave, only 283 survived. Almost 12,000 dead. 12,000 families destroyed. 12,000 empty chairs at dinner tables. General Tay sat alone in his office. He had not slept in 3 days. He looked old and broken. The victory felt hollow. He had sent so many young people to their deaths. He had asked them to sacrifice everything, and they had done it without question. Park Hana found him there. She sat down beside him without speaking. "Was it worth it?" Tay asked quietly. "All those lives, all that death, was it worth it?" Hannah was silent for a long moment. "Ask me that question in 100 years," she said. "When our grandchildren are free, when they travel among the stars, when they look back and remember what we did today, then I will tell you if it was worth it." Far away, at the Galactic Council Station, the alien observers sat in complete silence. They had watched the entire battle. They had seen the impossible happen. Ambassador Corvan stood before them. His blue face was grave. "I warned you," he said. "I told you these creatures were different. You did not listen. The Velthari have conquered 93 worlds. They have never lost a battle. Until today. Until they faced humans. Delegate Morven could barely speak. How? They are primitives. They should have surrendered." "That is what you do not understand," Corvan replied. "Humans do not surrender. Not when their home is threatened. Not when their freedom is at stake. You saw what they did. They flew suicide missions into our fleet. They sacrificed their lives without hesitation. They sent their children to die so that future generations could be free." He walked to the window and looked at the distant blue planet. "We made a terrible mistake today," Corvan continued. "We did not destroy a threat. We created an enemy. An enemy that will never forget. An enemy that will never forgive. And when they reach the stars, and they will reach the stars, they will remember what we tried to do to them." The council was afraid now. They could see the future that Corvan described. A galaxy with humanity spreading across it. A humanity that remembered this day. A humanity that would never trust them again. "What do we do?" Someone asked. Corvan turned back to face them. We hope that humans are capable of forgiveness. We hope that in time they will see us as something other than enemies. But until then, we stay far away from their world. And we pray that we never have to face them in battle again. 6 months later, Earth held a memorial ceremony. Every nation sent representatives. They gathered in a great plaza where a wall had been built. On that wall were carved the names of every pilot who died in the final wave. 11,717 names. At the very top was Captain Lee Wu. General Tay, now retired, gave the final speech. His voice was tired but strong. We stand here today to remember the brave souls who gave their lives for our freedom. They came from every country on Earth. They spoke different languages. They believed in different things. But they shared one belief that united them all. They believed that some things are worth dying for. He paused and looked at the crowd. He saw old mothers crying. He saw young children who would never know their parents. He saw soldiers standing at attention with tears on their faces. Our enemies thought we were weak, Tay continued. They thought we would surrender. They were wrong. Humanity does not kneel. Captain Lee Wu taught them that lesson. 12,000 heroes taught them that lesson. And the galaxy will never forget it. That same day, Earth launched its first interstellar vessel. It was named the U.E.S. Lee Wu. It carried a crew of 200 and a message for the galaxy. The message was simple. Humanity is coming. We come in peace for those who treat us with respect. We come with fire for those who threaten our home. We remember our friends. We never forget our enemies. And we never, ever surrender. In her small house in Bizan, Lee Wu's mother watched the ship launch on television. On her wall hung a picture of her son in his pilot uniform. Beside it hung the medal he had been awarded after his death, the highest honor humanity could give. She touched the picture gently. I am proud of you, my son, she whispered. I always was. Outside, the stars were waiting, and humanity was ready to meet them.